There it goes.
Yep, we're good.
Good. Okay.
Sorry, Alan.
Oh, no, we're doing both.
Just, yeah, who's doing the minutes there?
You're probably recording over like
The board meeting?
birthday party or something.
Yeah. Oh, well. How did it get to be October 21st? That looks it.
Yeah, next up, Thanksgiving, and then Easter.
Not ready for it. I'm not ready for October 21st. That's a little laggy.
It's way lagging.
Yeah.
Let you get started.
Okay. All right, being that it's just about 6:10, we will get started with our October 21st, 2024 Finance Committee meeting. Keith is not here tonight, the rest of us are present, and we can move right into approval of the September 23rd, 2024 minutes.
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next, we're going to move on to some old business. First, a fund balance discussion. Drew, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, so we did discuss this at our last finance meeting. We decided to sort of keep it on this agenda here. You know, we just sort of went through the different fund balances. Actually, I do have a copy here. So this is our audit report. What we're looking at here, can't really get it all on. This is the general fund right here in the first column. And our fund balances are down here.
Okay.
Is that in here?
No, I didn't print a copy of this one out. So the non-spendable fund balance is $16,000. So that would be inventory, if we had any prepaids, things that you just physically can't spend because it's either already been spent or it's not in a spendable format. Our restricted fund balance, which are typically restricted for legal reasons or grant. So we had $221,000 there. We have committed fund balance of $5.5 million. So that's board committed. The board approved that money to be set aside. That was for capital projects. We have assigned fund balance of $2.4 million, which is the balance that was used to balance the 23-24 budget. Because this is the last audit report that we had, 22-23. And then we have unassigned, which is $5.3 million. So I know we had talked a little bit about the turf field money that was set aside as an assigned fund balance in prior years. But we do not have that as of 22-23, and that's probably my ignorance, just coming in here, not knowing, not setting it, but we did have, was it $120,000 or $170,000 as of the year before this that was assigned for the turf fields.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't look back, but.
170,000?
I believe it was
I think
170.
that-
And so
sounds
you're
right.
saying that inside of this assigned?
No, this was the prior year.
Separate from?
It was assigned, but that $2.4 million was assigned for the 23-24 budget.
So that went to,
Yeah, so that's
Is
kind of,
going.
yep, that's set aside. You can't spend that because the board at that time voted to set aside $2.4 million to balance that 23-24 budget. And that changes every year.
Okay. And that was 21-22 that had that
Yeah.
was the audit
Yeah.
report.
Yep.
are you saying that at this point you know that we need that over there?
So it sounds like that was the intent of the board many
Uh-huh.
years ago. So we can certainly make that change for the 23-24 audit report. Because our auditors are coming out, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, they're going to come out and start the audit work. So when they're done, we can tell them what we want the fund balances to be,
Okay,
Okay, gotcha.
so that we can set aside for the turf field.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I know that we had one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, that's coming, but it's just not now,
Right.
the turf.
no,
Yeah.
it will come, whether we like it
Yeah.
or not, it'll come.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it looks like we're prepared. We've been preparing,
yeah.
Yeah,
so, okay.
all right,
So we can certainly do that. I would probably recommend putting it in the committed fund balance.
okay.
It's a little more formal than would be an assignment. An assignment per board policy is just, I think I have the authority to assign funds. And I don't typically like that. I'd rather have the board have their say.
How soon do you think we should, do you need water?
No, I need a new stomach.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'll order one right up. Drew will buy it. We got
Thanks, Drew.
unassigned. How soon should we move that or no rush?
So we'll set it with the auditors. So they'll be
Okay.
out here at the end of this month. And probably what we can do is talk in November here at this finance meeting.
Okay.
And because they should have a better handle on how the 23-24 year finished up
Okay,
at that point. So we can talk about it then.
okay,
So I can certainly leave fund balance on under old business and we'll bring it up in November.
okay. That was it in unassigned?
It was in assigned,
Okay,
yeah.
I just couldn't, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I know I read it, but I can't remember. Okay, all right, anybody else have anything else on that? Okay. Move on to the real estate tax.
Yeah, so we talked about this last month as well. So I have here, this was the draft resolution. I sort of highlighted those items that we had talked about and that we can change. So every 4 years, due February of 2025, because they are up for election in November of 2025. So in February, we have to have this resolution in place for it approved. So this is when we can make changes to their compensation, and also so anybody running in November knows what to expect for their compensation for being a tax collector.
Right.
So we did talk, and I do have, pull it up again. So we did talk, in Montgomery County, the average of all the tax collectors is $3.87. We're at $3.75. Interim bills are right around the same, $3.94. And installments, the average bill is $2.22. We're at $1.25.
Okay.
So they don't get any more if people pay in installments,
Not the way,
not the way this is set
Correct.
up now.
Yep.
But in other districts, it is set up that they get more if people
Yeah.
pay the installments?
yep. So for instance, one of them pays, a regular bill is $4.30. This is like one of the highest, $4.30. But the interim bill is listed at $6.75. Now, I'm not sure if that 675 is divided by 3,
That would make sense.
or, yeah, I mean, 675 times 3 is a lot
Yeah, that
for,
would make sense, that
Yeah.
would be divided over the 3 installments.
yeah. So, I mean, I know we kind of struggled. Everybody knows our collectors are really good. We have great tax collectors here.
Here too.
So, Megan and I took a look at this, and just to get you all started and get the ball rolling, we thought we'd throw out a recommendation. Take it, leave it, change it, whatever you want to do. But we seem to think that there was a will, at least among some committee members, because our collectors apparently have not had an increase in a very long time.
Yep.
So we thought maybe we would recommend $4 for a regular bill. So that does put our collectors above the county average. $1.50 per installment. So give a 25-cent increase for the installments. And then further down, we do have in here, so we do offer $100 for office expenses and say $150 to give them an increase in reimbursement for office. So that's what we thought we'd throw out to
Can you remind me, is this what they were asking for up here?
No,
highlighted,
so-
Or this is what they currently get?
That's what they currently have, yeah.
And
They asked
Wasn't there a
for,
paper they were asking for? I didn't.
yeah, so they asked for an increase from $3.75 up to $5.75.
Yeah.
When was the last time that their salaries were?
They think it was 20 years ago.
It's been a very long time.
Really long.
Right.
I'm not even sure, wow, we have to really dig to find those old resolutions.
I don't think I've ever seen one.
Really?
I might not have been president then, but I was finance though. Yeah, I'm not sure.
And I remember we talked about the raise, based on what they asked for, would be like 16,000 divided among the three.
Yeah, was it
Yeah, we
16?
gave them what they wanted.
It's, the extra cost would be like 16,000, but
For
they
seven,
get it
yeah.
divided amongst the three of them.
There's 7.
It's, wait, it's what?
There's 7.
7 of them, divided, 16,000 divided by 7, that would be their raise if we
If we
put
give
it
them
to
what they
5,
asked.
7, if what,
I mean, personally, I can't see how we don't give it them what they wanted. Even if that makes it higher than everyone else. Because we've had the same tax collectors pretty much the entire time, forever. Unless, one retired. East Greenville's retired. And even that one's been there a long time now.
So where would this, what they're requesting, Drew, where would that put them in the county? My understanding would put them at the top of
Oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
everything.
So the highest paid in the county, so there's one district that pays the borough to collect in lieu of elected collectors, and they're at $4.85. Then the next
And
highest,
that money goes to the borough.
to the borough, yeah. The next highest is $4.30, and then there's a $4.16, and then you're down in the $3.75, $3.31, $3.25, and $3.
430 compared to 575.
I'm sorry?
430 compared to 575.
For elected collectors, yeah, that's the highest, yep.
So they were asking for 575.
Yeah.
Woo.
And it still only comes to $16,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually 19,000, 19,463, but. Yeah, it's about $2,600, $2,700 for each quarter raise. So another option in here would be you can change it by year. So have it increase every year.
I don't love that, I just don't love that.
Why?
I feel like to every year kind of have to revisit it, change our paperwork.
No.
No, we could do a
Set
chart.
now per year.
Yeah.
We could do a chart in here,
Like, so we
yeah.
do $4 this year, $4.25 next year, $4.50 the next year.
So if the goal is to get them to 575 or 550 at the end of year 4,
Okay.
you scale it back and it's all done. You don't have to revisit it. You've already
Right.
made a decision
It's
to
still
go.
4
So
years.
then they know.
To go, right,
Okay.
to go 50 cents this year.
But that's
and then-
nothing on our, like, you don't have, I mean, somebody has to do some changes, but it's not a big, it's you. She's like, yeah, let's not.
No,
Or-
it's not, knowing it's in there, it's just, it's a simple.
It's
It's
simple.
calculation.
Okay.
We update a spreadsheet and then
Okay.
give it to our payroll department and that's it.
So do they submit to you the number of tax bills
That they
that
collect.
they collect?
Yes.
And then the number that they bill in installments? So I decided I wasn't going to do installments, so on the second installment, I paid it off.
Yeah, that's big, yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about a sliding scale up? Or just,
I like the sliding scale. It shows that I wasn't here for the discussion with the tax collectors, but it shows that they were heard and that they're getting, since this increase has not gone into place for years, and it's not costing the district that much money.
yeah, I personally think they deserve, if they haven't had it that long, which, like I said, I don't know. They all said that they haven't had it in that long.
Right.
It
Right.
seems kind of crazy.
So,
Did you happen to see, did anyone, I don't know how closely looked at the other amounts? Did any of them have a change in a year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year?
So, yeah, so that's a good point. What was sent out, what was requested was just what everybody's paying this year.
Okay.
So these are amounts for just this year. Everybody needs to change these amounts, or redo the resolution, I should say, for the next 4 years.
Oh, so other districts might actually change
They
to
could.
575.
They could increase,
Oh.
yeah, the rates.
Oh, okay, so this has to be done every 4 years?
Yep.
And so why weren't, so this resolution can just stay at whatever that amount, apparently it's been staying.
I think that's what, yeah, that's what
It's
it's
been
saying.
staying at that amount for 100 years, and now they want us to say we're going to give them a raise. That makes sense. And then it's revisited, if we put the scale in there every 4 years, then it's revisited every year to see.
It's not
you know,
revisited.
what-
We
Put a
can't
scale
change
in.
it.
You
It'll be the
predetermine
form.
what those steps are,
Right,
Yeah,
right,
there's no changing in the middle.
right, there's no changing in the middle.
meaning
And
us
then-
stopping and adjusting it. You can
Correct.
change it in the middle
Right.
by basically
Oh, right,
setting it
well,
ahead
right,
of time.
yeah.
And at the end of 4 years, it's revisited to
Yep.
see if it's
Yep.
going to stay there or if it's
Yep.
going to have incremental increases again. I think that makes sense.
I think it does too.
If we go with yearly, how about 425, then 5, then 575? Is that enough changes?
You can
It's
do
up to
whatever you
us.
want.
We can do
Yeah,
whatever we want.
You can do whatever you want. So just
Maybe do that.
revisit this real quick. The request was $5.75 for a duplicate bill, $5.75 for an interim bill, which we do the interim, so, but they do collect it, never mind. Okay. And then $1.92 for each installment, which times 3 adds up to with a little bit of rounding, $5.75. And they did ask for supply reimbursement up to $200.
Okay,
That was their official request.
all right. What do you ladies want to do?
I'm proposing 425, then 5, then 575.
Okay, so it's a 4-year resolution.
Yes, you have one more in there.
I need one more.
So 425,
How about 575 for the last 2 years? Is-
I can live with that.
Or make the last one 6? I don't,
No.
No? Okay.
No.
so 575 for the last 2 years, how about that?
So,
And then if they need $200 of supplies, is it, I don't know, to double it, that's kind of, I know there's
but it's been
inflation.
$100 for a million years. Again, it's been there for
Like,
a
That
long
doesn't
time.
seem like a huge
Supplies
deal.
were in there back when they used to do their own in-rolls and mail out, and that was all the envelopes and the
Yeah.
postage.
Right.
Is it
We do
digital
that
now?
in-house now.
Oh,
So it's through our tax software. Once our tax
so what
clerk
do they
hits
need
the enter
supply, they
button,
need pens, like what do they?
it would be, yeah. And they do need some envelopes, right, for
Sometimes.
sometimes, yeah. So it's minimal.
I don't have a problem with that, like, that's not $19,000, so.
I don't have a problem with it either.
So they're doing a lot less clerical work. Obviously, they're getting the checks or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they have to do whatever they have to do with that. But in the past, they actually had stuff envelopes
Yeah.
and do all of that, and that's no longer being done, correct?
Well, I can't say that for sure. I'm not sure how the old software worked, because I know there was a software prior to us purchasing the e-tax tracks. So I'm not sure exactly how all that worked, but I believe there was more work, or there would be more work if we didn't have the software doing a lot of what it does.
I think however you can stretch it over the 4 years, do that incrementally, give them their $150 for office expenses, and
They're asking for 200, you want to make it
they
150?
wanted, but you had suggested 150.
Yeah.
Correct.
We did, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's not, you could go 455, 575, it's a bigger jump in that fourth year.
I like
If
the
you're
last
trying to-
2 years of 575,
I
that's
can
me.
certainly do that too.
Okay, so 425, 575, 575.
Mm.
Leah, you go with that?
So what was the second year?
5. 425
Five
to
even?
5, and then 575,
Okay, so
575.
425, 5, and then 575. So they're getting a 75 increase in the second year, the third year, and it's even for the fourth year.
And that gets them to where they want to be.
And then
And
how
then
about,
150.
And $150 for envelopes.
That's fine.
Okay.
are we doing the installment bills at well, I don't know what we're doing the installment bills at. So they requested 192, only because that times 3 was right around that 575 mark.
Are you able to?
And
I
what
mean,
is it now?
we could do each 425
Oh,
divided by 3,
they're
5 divided by
Or
3.
we could do it that way, or could you do an average of the 4 years and then put that on the installments?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And keep
Do
it the
that.
same.
yeah,
the
just,
same
that'll be
one.
the same all 4 years.
Right.
Okay.
So 10, 15,
Drew, can't you do that in your head?
$20.75 divided by 3.
No,
Divided by 4, I'm sorry.
425, 5, 575, 575, and then.
Yeah,
five.
we have to do 2 calculations.
Right.
So it'd be
So I said 2075 divided by
175 divided by 4.
4. And then that's your average,
Right.
yeah.
And then divide that by
And
3.
then divided by 3.
Yeah, so that would be 173.
Okay.
So that's almost a 50-cent increase
Yep.
for them, they're gonna love it.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
you don't have to change that every year.
Yeah, does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm good
yeah,
with that.
we'll put a table in there or something just to show the year and then the 425, the year and then the 5, 575 and 575.
Okay.
And then we're
And then
we're
the
doing,
interval will all be the same.
and then the $1.73 per installment,
All
Yeah,
4 years.
install.
all 4 years.
Yeah,
And then 150 for office supplies.
Yep.
Okay.
deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's done
Okay. Do we need a motion?
I mean, we'll have the resolution in front of the board either in November or December or January.
Yep, yeah, we have plenty of time. All right,
Try to go for November,
Peggy,
just to
do
get it done.
you have anything to say about that?
You know my question.
How are we gonna pay for that? How are we gonna not pay for it? Yeah, but that's ridiculous, that's a long time. Sure, go ahead. Sure.
I mean, we're one of the relatively poor school districts, are we not? And with us flirting with the idea of getting rid of the per capita tax and having a huge ass tax raise last year, and you want to jump over the highest tax collector rate seems a bit excessive.
Well, it wouldn't be for 2 years. till
What
it's
is the
over.
what was the minimum one? I missed that.
For,
Isn't it-
425.
Yeah, the first year
Yeah,
was
425.
425, yeah.
Okay, but still, it makes it a little, for us being on the bottom of the barrel, like,
yeah, but on $74 million, does 16,000 really make a difference?
well, after a raise of 3.5 or whatever we did last year and getting rid of the per capita, I think they deserve a hefty
Well, we're
raise,
not
no
getting
doubt.
into the per capita yet, so it's just a discussion right
And
now.
Melanie, 6 compensation plans and we're coming up under a teacher's contract.
Yeah, I know.
Now, this is an example of present boards dealing with
Yep.
past boards' decisions, and we have to be mindful of what we do as a present board will, future boards will have to deal with. Just saying, perspective.
I get that.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I mean, yeah,
Just
but
something
we're
for
still, like we just pointed out, we're still, the number we're looking at is not even the right number. All these numbers, that's all gonna shift once every other board decides what they're going with. They might do a $3 hike, I don't know.
Sure.
But if it hasn't been changed in that long, that's kind of,
Or they might resolve to hold it where they are.
what's that?
They may resolve to hold where they are. Since we have done that.
They
year
could,
after year
yeah,
after year,
it's true,
they could
too.
continue to hold where they are.
But, yeah, we have no idea
Yeah,
what
we can't
those.
tell what they did or didn't do,
Right.
just where they're at. right now.
Right,
Exactly.
correct. Yep.
And there's nobody in this room right now who has the historical perspective, even before you, Melanie.
Yeah,
If these tax collectors ever came to the board requesting an increase, I mean, Drew, if you asked Sandy Castle, maybe she would know, but I'm just saying.
I'm gonna say the answer is yes, they
and
did, and the answer was no. That's where
I wonder
I'm
if we could find that out. Not that it makes any difference, but
No,
it's
it
just,
doesn't.
again, 20 years, if it's 20 years, yeah, that's a heck of a long
I
time.
mean, inflation, that's,
That
is
is
something.
But they're also still not at the bottom of the rest of the groupings.
Right.
So even if it was 20 years, their
Yeah.
numbers seem to be in line for that. I know a lot of their concerns were they only have so much money power
Right.
to make with the interims. So I don't know if
Right.
it feels like it's a little bit of an overcompensation to get people up to that piece with only so much earning power with 7 collectors. Well, it's not like there's 2 that have the whole district. That's just simply the municipality makeup, so.
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's fair. If we gave them the per capita tax back with using a different, like that could maybe shift this a little bit, they would have more earning potential.
I don't know that they want that.
If we used a different, the other company, that's what they were saying last
Right.
time, that they didn't totally hate that company. I don't know that they said they liked it, but they didn't hate it. So
I don't think they
that
want
would,
the per capita
potentially,
tax.
that could give them a little more earning.
That's what I got from them.
They don't want that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. All right, well, we
They
can,
don't want to take it on again themselves, take it out of Berkheimer's hands.
yeah.
They want to leave it there.
No, they recognize Berkheimer is problematic
Right.
in a lot of ways.
That's diplomatic of you.
Yep. They definitely, hands down, they all agreed that was maybe not the best company to use for that. But I heard it a little differently than you guys. I thought they would entertain the idea of working with, I don't have the other company name in front of me, but that, I thought they would entertain it, but I may have misunderstood.
Yeah, so there was definitely a request, and that was next on the list, so I don't want to
Yeah.
skip over this one, because
Yep,
I don't know if we're done yet, but
I jumped.
it was a request to see how much it would cost for our current tax software to collect the per capita, but that would require somebody to sort of oversee
Collect
it and
it.
manage it, but it would be our current software provider.
Okay, so that.
That's the way I understood it.
That would put it back in their hands.
Yes.
Right.
Either their hands or our hands, and
Right.
I can annually say we don't want it.
We used to submit, I used to submit 2 checks. One for the per capita and to Mary Jacobs. I sent her the real estate tax and then per
Yep.
capita checks, 2 checks.
Yep. That was a long time ago.
Not that long ago.
That was pretty long ago. I think.
Was it 2021?
Was that all? I thought it was
Yeah,
longer,
it doesn't seem
longer
like
than that.
it's
It might have been
long.
21 when it switched
Yeah.
over, because then Lori. when
Lori kept it
Brenda,
for a
she
year.
kept it for a year, I think, she's like, no.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't think it was that long.
All right. I feel like it was longer.
It's been a long few years.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
All right, so if we're good with 425.5, 575, 575, 150 reimbursement, and $1.73 for the installments.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
All right, we'll send that to the board
Board,
and see
okay.
what happens.
Okay.
Are we gonna, is somebody gonna tell our tax collectors that, just
Oh,
out
yeah.
of curiosity?
We'll let them know. We'll let them know what the recommendation from the committee is to the full
Gotcha.
board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
That
what
one.
it- Yeah.
So
Do
that'll
that.
be reported out on Thursday's meeting. You'll
Yep.
report out that was there.
Yes.
Maybe we can put in a board update
Sure.
this week, because there's no rush.
No,
Yeah.
So we can plan if all goes well, then it could be on a November
yep,
meeting.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
our
maybe
hair?
try to get on November, and then if there's a decision to sort of relook at it, we have time until February
Right.
to
Okay.
bring it back in December.
All right.
Worst case scenario, yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we move on to the exciting per capita tax that we all love and don't love.
So, yeah, so sort of jump back into the per capita tax. My understanding was from the collectors, they were, I think they had a request, or it came up in discussion last month at our meeting, to see what it would cost to have BCIU, which is the e-tax tracks, that's the software that we currently have, how much it would cost for us to collect it through them. They came back and Megan and I looked at their proposal and what we currently pay Berkheimer, and they are almost identical between the two of them. Now, the missing piece of that would be what we then would be paying our collectors. So then whatever we would pay our collectors to collect those per capita tax bills would put us over what we're paying Berkheimer right now. So it would be an increased cost. And that whatever, we'd have to decide what to pay the collectors to know how much exactly we're over.
I think in the past we paid them $1.
So what were
That
they
sounds
paying
about right.
before it was taken over to Berkheimer?
Yeah, it's right, I crossed it out right there. So this is the resolution that we just talked about. It was $1 for each
$1?
Yeah.
notice collected.
That's a lot.
For
For
$15,
yeah.
yeah.
That's a lot for a $10 tax.
All right, so, well, again, the whole Berkheimer thing, like, at that point, we get to a point where it's not worth the per capita tax, period. Because not all of it's ours anyway.
Berkheimer.
It's around 17,000, I think 400, 17,500, somewhere in that range. Because they were both at about 17,000, I think.
We
It's
pay
like
Berkheimer
$73.
$1 each as well?
So we pay them a total.
Oh, it's like a package deal.
Is it a percentage? I'm not sure how they,
I saw 73 cents a bill,
per bill.
and then it has all the mailings.
And then all that, yeah. So we
So
do have
it's
to
more
pay
than
for all the
73
mailings up
cents a
front.
bill.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in total, it was $17,000 for last year, called 17.5.
Okay,
And that's, I think the e-tax tracks quote was like 17.6, 17.7.
and still needed,
And still needed the
The rest of it.
compensation for the collectors.
all right.
So did the tax collectors request that it be taken out of their hands, or did the district decide to?
Back in 2021,
Yeah.
I'm not 100% clear on where
No
that
one,
came
yeah,
from.
no one, I think most were okay with taking it out of their hands. Well, like I said, one held on, I think.
One held on for a
Yeah.
year, yeah.
Yeah,
That's our only income, that's why.
yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they also say that if you were to get rid of per capita, that has some impact at the local county, or the local municipality level?
Yes,
Right.
right.
Do we know how much of an impact?
Well, they get $5, right? Yeah, the 15, the boroughs get
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah.
Right.
But the cost to them to continue to collect it,
Right.
I don't know what
That would be-
Berkheimer would charge them.
Yeah, they'd either have to have Berkheimer do it, or,
Yeah.
yeah. And I wonder, can they increase that? Or can you only do 50?
I think it's a set,
Yeah, it's
there's
by
a
law.
cap on it, I think.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I'm
I
not
did a
sure.
bunch of reading, so. I-
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't want us to remove it and then and make up for it somehow, and then have the boroughs and the townships make theirs bigger because they have to pay more than they would have paid Berkheimer to do it. That's all.
I think that's a legitimate concern, but I don't know that that would necessarily direct my choice, like,
No,
I don't know.
I was just thinking about the public's part of it.
You're right,
Yeah.
I don't know though, we can't know what they're gonna, can we ask them?
Yeah, please don't do
So
that.
hypothetically,
Yeah, if we do
Um,
this.
I don't know, it's kind of, it doesn't sit well with me to deal in like a possibility,
Yeah.
of what could be. When this really is an annoying tax for everybody. I know we would collect it in a different way, like we would still have to make it up somehow. But because we've budgeted for it and it's a significant amount.
Well, we don't have to get rid of it this minute either. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Talking.
a discussion about it. Yeah. I know, I just wish we could do that right off the bat, but yeah, we want to make sure we think it all the way through. So, no hurry.
Do the boroughs participate in the payment of Berkheimer, or you guys pay
Or
the
do we
whole
pay
thing?
for all of it?
So they don't help at all with that, the envelopes and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're only getting our share of the per capita. So my assumption would be that they're getting their share, which then they're paying the fees on their
Okay,
share.
so they are paying Berkheimer or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my understanding, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to know for sure what's that's, because there's different per capita tax in different
Townships.
areas.
Yeah.
because I think I pay the smallest, which is
Yeah.
$9.80.
Oh, really? Because ours is 14.70.
1450
So
or,
what does
14.70 if we
What
take
does
the
Marlboro
discount.
Township get out of
They
$9.80?
probably don't have the tax.
Yeah, they probably don't have it.
So they
It's
don't
only
get
the
anything.
school district
Yeah.
one, because that's your one with the discount.
So
Ours is
what-
14.70. Yeah.
What funds my township?
John Eads.
Yeah, Johnny. Oops, yep, yep. I'm gonna,
My neighbor.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so the per capita tax is $5, and we collect from two different laws that we can collect under, the school and then the regular. And then the municipality would be that other $5. So it's a $15 bill for those municipalities that,
So you
That
get
imposed
all
it.
of my money and I'm
Yep.
not even contributing to my own community. Is
Correct.
this correct?
But that's your community's choice.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
Not ours, not ours. You have to take that up with Marlboro Township.
No, thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know, I got you. It's darn it, you'll end up paying that extra $5 here.
Then I'll be at 1480.
Exactly. All right, well, so shall we just leave it on old business for the moment? And give it
Yeah.
some more thought, and maybe we'll see, I'll call East Greenville tomorrow and ask them, what do they actually pay Berkheimer, if anything? Or do we shoulder the whole thing? I don't know.
Right.
We'll find out.
yeah, I would like a little more information
Okay.
if possible.
I can ask, they'll be fine, tell
And
them.
like, I want to review like actual numbers for having our collectors do what that would look like, if they would entertain it. I don't know if you can just ask them.
I can ask them if they're interested, yeah, but then we need to know, how much it's gonna cost based on
Right,
what we're
because we
gonna
have to
pay.
add it back into their,
Yeah.
to their
Yeah,
thing.
so maybe, like, if they're not interested, then that kind of leads us in a different direction. Like, I don't know, I kind of like to cover up some of these, like, get some harder answers on some of this, if possible.
Okay, I can certainly ask them, I can assume $1, and then we can find out from Berkheimer how many bills they collected in 23-24.
Okay.
And if
Okay,
it's 10,000 bills, then it's $10,000
right,
Yeah. Okay.
plus
Okay.
payroll taxes.
yep. Okay, all right, and I'll ask East Greenville tomorrow about if they pay Berkheimer for their part of the per capita. Okay. All right. To be continued. TBC, to be continued. I'll look at that Thursday and go, what is TBC?
Yeah,
Okay, there we go, all right, continue.
with all the acronyms in education.
I know, I don't even like them as it is. Okay, so we'll move on to new business discussions, starting with hypothetical budget scenario.
Yeah, so Director McCarrick unfortunately isn't here, but he's the one that requested this back in, I forget if it was May or June.
Yep.
But his whole question was if there were 2 years where there was a 0,
Yep,
if that wasn't a 0 and if it was a 1, what would that look like in terms of revenue?
yep,
So I could not make this a sort of live document, so I just picked, you have the handout and it's up on the screen.
yep,
In year ending 21 and year ending 22, there was a 0% tax increase.
Right.
So in this hypothetical scenario, if it was a 1% tax increase, in the first year, year ending 21, it would have brought in an additional $386,000. And then year ending 22, it would have brought in another $402,000. And then because you've increased your millage, your base, there are increases in the following years from.
Based on that.
Yeah, just based on that, with the 2.5% increase, a 4 and a 3.5. So in total, having a 1% and a 1% would have brought in $914,000 more of revenue than having that 0.
yep.
So it was something that Director McCarrick had asked, and I was able to work this up, just this one little scenario with a 1% instead of 0.
Okay.
Just to kind of show that there is,
Consequences to
1%,
zeros.
yeah. that you can build off of that 1%, and there's a consequence to a 0.
Yep,
Which, fully understanding, that was a strange time of the year
yep,
with everything going on COVID-related. There was a lot of unknowns. So I think there were a lot of districts that did a 0 in that year and the following year, but this is just to illustrate what a 1% and a 1% would have done.
Okay. He'll get that. That's exactly what he was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because Sandy always used to say, well, if you don't tax in 1 year, you lose all those dollars forever. Yeah. Okay.
That would be a good thing to put in a board update in a separate edition so that everyone has it as
That
well.
would be good, yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A little
Okay.
write-up that just explains that, you know, this was a discussion here, and it's helpful for everyone to see that.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right. So shall we go to the 23-24 budget review, 25-26 budget development?
Yeah, so in the agenda, I just put this little chart together. So Dr. Roach and I talked and thought we really ought to take a look at the 23-24 year, even though the auditors haven't been here. This is probably going to end up being pretty close to where we end. And sort of sit down with the administrators and say, look, this is what happened, this is where we were, this is where we ended. And then Megan and I finished today meeting with all the principals and doing the same thing, but going more into detail with their budgets. So we did sit with them, went through all the, how they finished the year, what was budgeted, where they ended. So we really kind of dug into the 23-24 budget and how we landed. So that was in a lot more detail. This is sort of the overview. If you see there, the 23-24 original budget in blue. So we had a budget there that was passed that was assuming a $1.88 million deficit. And we ended the year unaudited, not final, at a deficit of 1.33 million. And then that last column can show you how it could have been a lot worse. So our revenues came in strong, almost 3 million, 2.992 million was brought in more than what was budgeted. So the revenues were strong and the expenditures were probably unfortunately
Just
strong
as
also.
strong.
Yeah.
Also
Um,
strong.
Yeah, so they went over by 2.4 million, with a difference there of $552,000. So we ended the year better than what we thought in the budget, but that was only because we did have some strong revenues there. So, you look at that 76 million, our budget for the current year that we're in is 79 million. So that's a 3 million increase over what was actually spent 23-24. It's just that 73.5 million expenditure budget appears to have been a little light.
A little tight.
Yeah.
Did you actually, and if you didn't, I'm just asking if you did, when you got to the revenue, could you figure out what the extra $3 million was?
I mean, it's a good mix between the real estate, the earned income tax, and then we did have some grant revenue also.
So that was included as well?
Yeah, so when the grants go over, you're over in the expense and the revenue.
Right.
So that
So there's
factors
two sides.
into, yeah, right.
All right.
But yeah, we did have, I mean, ESSER 3 was a big one. That
Okay.
was, I'm trying to think of exactly how much we spent last year, I can't remember. I mean, it was probably over $1 million last year, just in ESSER 3, to finish that out.
Okay. So that would be on both sides, the revenue and
Yeah.
the expenditures?
Yeah. That might be a little under $1 million because we had to spend some this year. So probably
Right.
around 800 and some thousand.
Okay.
So this slide, or this piece here, was also shared with the full admin team 2 weeks ago to let them see the autopsy
Right.
of that, as well as few conversations with a couple departments that were over.
Right.
I mean, that's the purpose of doing this.
No, that was a great idea. I
You know,
appreciate
it's
that.
autopsy of
Yep.
not just spending, but to see that. So it looks like we went crazy spending, but some of the grant stuff is
Yeah,
definitely part of that. Again, they both go up equally.
Right.
Yep.
That's not an excuse, but there was definitely,
But you said as part of your goals, you're gonna go through each department and
Mhm.
just sort of revisit.
Yeah.
the
I've not done
specifics.
this exercise
Yeah, that's a good
here
one.
at all. Like,
Yep.
like putting people on notice. Like, let's now, usually you get into the school year, you're like, just keep going. Like, you're in a new budget, just go.
Yeah.
And this was, important. I mean, we're at the point now where, I'm sure Drew's sick of it, but every year, every month, the overtime report goes out. and we're going line by line, department by
Okay.
department through the overtime report.
Yeah, what
Some of
do
the
you-
overtime is legit, it's
Sure.
the custodians that check the buildings on the weekend. That is overtime, that's gonna be there, it's not like, it's not a no overtime.
Right.
But that's a part of that list, so you're looking at this, because there's some money budgeted in overtime. But, we're at the point now where we're like, okay, so what, in that month, why is there $2,000 in overtime? Oh, there was the homecoming dance, there was a this, there was a this, there was a this. And some of the contracts are also considered overtime. So that's what I like, so when I see that, I'm like, that's the curriculum writing. That's accounted for, it's considered overtime,
Yeah.
but it's not time and a half, it's just the X amount of dollars per
In
hour
that
that's there.
time.
Right,
Right.
so that's been healthy, at least for us to take a look at that. So Drew set it up where the first of the month, we get a report that shows the last month. We can
Good
sit and
job.
go over it from that autopsy side of taking a look at it to make sure we're not, seeing 7 months worth of that and not catching it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
I
appreciate that.
have a conversation that's due with the folks that are making decisions about who is at the football game. I understand they want to have the Cardinal Point people there because they work with our kids through the course of the week and they know them. They
But
can
it's
point
all
them out.
overtime. Yeah. Right.
Like, is there a balance of,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be cheap, but trying to manage the dollars, like, because when they work 35 hours and they go into overtime, we are then accruing that. I'm hoping there's a balance between that and maybe some of the other third-party provider or advanced protection,
Yeah.
and they're just a straight, let's say, 25 an hour.
Right. Yeah,
Can
which
we-
is
can-
more worth it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm saying, we're losing a little bit on the familiarity, hey, Billy, knock it off,
Right,
but there's got to be a balance and at least eyes wide open of what we're deciding.
sure.
Because, like, looking at this, we had 73 million, 74, 75, 76, so 3 million different, and our budget now is 76, 77, 78, 79. But it really, if all things stay the same, it should be 81. Am I wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If
no,
nothing changes.
But the only thing that's different is if you took out technically the ESSER money, it's really, it
Does that
wasn't
kind of
74, it was 73.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll drop, yeah.
Yeah. You guys see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Even though that, I'm just looking at it from the
Yeah.
revenue side, although they both change, so I'm just looking at it that way.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Wasn't very good English when I said it, but thank you for understanding.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I can translate.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the other hard things it is, because we do have things like grant money, and it does go in
In
both
the
sides, but that doesn't mean our budget really was 79 million. It was 76 million, or plus all those grants.
Yeah.
I guess in the audit, it's gonna come out that way anyway, because it all just gets lumped in.
Yeah, and what we can do, usually around April-ish is when I'm used to taking a look at the state and federal grants, because you can reopen your budget only for state and federal grants
Okay.
to get that money in there, so that, if you overspend your budget because of some kind of federal grant, well, you can open up your budget in mid-year so that, just from a PDE standpoint, you didn't overspend your budget. So we can look at, and I'll keep track of what was budgeted for our federal grants and state grants. And then when we have final allocations, which is usually April for Title I, we can always come back and say, hey, we need to open it up just for
Just to
a little
readjust
bit,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
just to make sure that we're accurate.
okay. I like that idea. Keeps everybody honest about
Yeah.
where everything really is.
Yeah,
That'll just make it easier when we're doing budget again.
yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think the only other thing was just to touch on 25-26 has already begun. So Megan and I did over the today we finished it, we started last week. We visited all the principals and talked to them about their allocation, gave them what the number is, and then we reviewed 23-24. But I will be probably tomorrow sending out the official, hey, we're starting. So start inputting your numbers in there so they'll build their budgets. And then next month we'll have the first budget presentation
Okay, wow.
at the finance.
Good.
Yep.
I can't wait.
For 25-26. We
Yeah.
haven't even finished 23-24. We're on
Yeah.
25-26.
It's all good. Okay.
It's a vicious circle. Too quickly.
So when we don't know what year we're in, that's why.
We don't know where you're, nobody knows. We're all confused. Perfect. I think that's great. I'm glad we're starting it early.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
do you start with?
I would assume, so we'll start with the building budgets. So
Okay.
that would be all the buildings.
Seems to be the easiest to
Yeah,
get a handle on.
athletics, and I
Not
can't
the
remember
freeze.
if we throw charter schools and debt service in there or not, but those are usually the first ones that we'll do.
Because they're like the lowest and the constant.
Debt service is the easiest one to do because it's
Yep.
all,
It is what it is.
I could do it for the next 5 years
Yes.
and be done with that budget.
You can, 2029, 27. Yep. Okay. All right. Any more questions about that? Anybody from the audience?
I don't think we had even a finance meeting until November last year, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Truth in.
Cancel a couple of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. All right. Well, every year's a new year. Okay, shall we move on to informational?
Yeah, so the adjusted Act-1 index is out. It's 4.9% for us. We do qualify under the adjusted Act-1 index, which is a calculation based on, we'll just call it wealth of the district. So those that are wealthy stay at the base. Those that have a little more poverty in the district do get a little boost in the index.
Which doesn't really make sense, does it?
It doesn't.
It's kind of
yeah, I know,
backwards.
it's anti, yeah.
Kind of backwards.
So last year, I think it was 5%, and then it was up to 6.6%. So this year, it's 4% as the base, and we're up to 4.9. So
Yep.
I don't have all the figures that they mush in there to come up with that calculation, but it seems like our increase is
Ratio
down.
and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I've
yeah.
looked at it before. It's very exciting.
All the-
Very exciting reading.
Market value, personal income, all those aid ratios factor into it.
Yeah.
But we do not have as large of an increase between the base and adjusted than we did last year. So that would lead me to believe we're being calculated as
Oh,
not as poor as we were.
okay.
Not as.
Poor.
That's poor.
Okay.
Okay, not all the way at the top, but.
I'm probably not saying it right, but
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
We're not what now?
Our poverty level is a little less than it was before.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're much better, yeah.
yeah. All right, I guess we'll move on to charter school.
Okay, so,
And thank you.
yeah, so this was a request coming out of the last board meeting.
Yeah.
So I did put a couple things together here. Yeah. So here we have the financials. So the first box is the charter school costs, July through September for last year and for this year. So those costs are up 16.3%. Our rates have increased 5.7 and 5.9%, so that accounts for some of that. And the per month, so I'm kind of figuring out what the annual average would be per month that we pay for charters, and that's gone up 2.5%. So the fact that it's gone up in July through September, over 16%, but nothing else is at 16%, leads me to believe that we're probably a little more
We have a kid or
stable
two.
in those first few months, and that last year, because kids move in and out constantly
Right.
with the charter
I know it's a
schools.
moving target.
Yeah, so that would lead me to believe that we had a lot more kids come in later in the year, last year, to really
Come into charter schools or come into here?
come into charter schools,
Okay.
because that number jumped up from what it was July through September. And it could also be billing, you know, it sometimes, we don't always get bills on time or regularly.
So technically might not be July through September, technically,
Yeah, we could still have some,
stragglers.
yeah, some stragglers.
Okay.
So, but, you know,
That's a
the
lot of
rates,
straggler.
so the rates have increased 5.7, 5.9%. And I did want to put that little note down there. In the state budget this year, they approved changing the special ed tuition rate for cyber charter schools only. So what they do is they assume, or what they have done is they've assumed that every district is at 16% special ed. Like your number of kids is 16% are special ed. And they use that to factor into your 363, which is the charter school tuition form. But hardly any districts are at 16%. Some are at 20%, and some are even lower. So what they did is they said, starting January 1, 2025, you're going to use your actual special ed percent.
Oh,
So we're going to have a half year right now, rate, this is for cyber only, cyber special ed only. And then starting January 1, we'll have a new rate. So ironically enough, our special ed rate is 16%.
That figures.
So
we're
there's
not
gonna be
going
nothing,
anywhere.
it's not gonna change, it might change a tiny little bit just based on the ADMs, but we are at 16%.
That figures.
Ironically,
Yeah.
So other districts that are at, say, 20%, in going through that calculation, will actually have a lesser special ed tuition rate for cyber charters only.
Are they less poor?
Uh,
Yeah.
I can't answer that
Yeah.
question.
We don't know. We don't know.
Or they?
Are they less-
Or are they richer schools getting the break, like usually happens?
That's usually what happens.
Right.
we'll be real PC here today.
Yep.
So
Maybe
I
I'll
had
talk
a-
about it somewhere, right?
So initially, we thought our special ed rate was at 16.1%. That's where the $2,000 savings would come from at the bottom of this page.
Okay.
It looks like it's actually closer to right at 16, so we may not have any savings. But these are the financials for the charter schools to date. We've spent $928,844. And we're projecting 3.7 million, whereas we ended last year at 3.459 million. And then I also wanted to include just some enrollment.
Thank you.
So these are all of the charter schools where we have students. Anything with a little checkbox there, that is a cyber charter school. And then we have total students. We have broken down by non-special ed and special education.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice chart. Thank you.
So yeah, so
Study that.
last year we ended the year at 205 students, and this year we're at 195. So that's good that we're down, but again, rates are increasing. And then cyber is, right now, 173 of the 195. Last year it was 177 of the 205.
All right. Anybody have any questions about that?
I've gotten 2 letters in the past month saying, hey, we're starting a cyber charter school, so we're hoping to partner with you to bring your kids over here.
We don't have any partners.
Nope,
We're
sorry.
done.
Yeah.
No
We don't
partnering,
have
thank you.
partners.
Thanks, but no thanks.
I think that's Penwood Cyber is a new one.
Yeah, right?
What's one?
Penwood Cyber, we have one student there.
It might be.
I think that's a new one this year.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one before.
Yeah, that's a new
I think
one.
we have enough options for the students. That's a lot.
Yeah, so I know, is
Wow.
it Representative Cerisi, is that?
Yep.
Yeah, so he is a huge proponent of charter school funding reform. Not trying to, get rid of the whole cyber charter or charter schools, but there's definitely a problem with the calculation of the tuition.
Yeah.
Because, you could,
He wants to cap it at like 8,500 or something
yeah.
for non-special education.
Well, considering they don't actually have a building.
So but he means for just cyber, or he means for all charter?
Well, the capping was a cyber.
Just for cyber, yeah.
Because there have
I mean,
been
what if-
studies that have been done that shown it actually costs, this goes back to, I think it was it Rendell? I think it was Rendell did the first one, $5,000 to educate a cyber student.
Yeah.
And Governor Wolf did one also, I think he bumped it up. I think it was around 8,500 or maybe it was 6,000, something like that. So,
Like, what is our expenditure per pupil head? I don't know how to
Gen Ed,
word
it's
that.
like 16.5
yeah.
and
For
special
charter,
ed is over
yeah.
32.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of low.
Yeah, that's that, last time you did the 363 or whatever.
yeah, so we were at 15,
Oh,
15.3 is the non-special ed and
Is that this
32.7
year's?
is the special ed.
15.3.
15.3, not 16.
Okay.
Instead of 32.
Because that's up, because the last time we were talking about is the 14 number.
Yep.
Right.
So if you think about 177 kids and they were to cut that gen ed, just assuming they're all gen ed, which we know they're not all,
Right, right.
that would save about $8,000 a student,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's half of it, yeah.
That's a, without changing anything that we're doing, or, that's a huge saving in tax money right away.
And you're still, I don't want to make it this right, you're still providing sports opportunities for them, things like
All
that.
that.
So, yeah, like, they don't have a building, they don't have turf.
Right, it's hard to replace.
Well, and the studies have shown, and Cerisi's platform is, he introduced the bill to reduce the amount, cap it at the 8,500 or whatever, was that so much money is spent by these cyber charter schools in advertising and marketing that is unnecessary.
Right, it's not going
and
directly
It
to.
should not be funded by taxpayers.
Well, didn't they just make I don't know if it was Reese, but the law that says you can't say this is free, you have to say
Yeah, that's part
funded
of
by.
the new
That's part of-
legislation.
And
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
it in place or it's been introduced or?
It should be already in place with the changes for the passing of this budget,
yeah,
where now they have to actually have to put in their audit pieces. I mean, there was a lot of,
Accountability parts to it.
there's far less accountability, there's more accountability now. Still not the requirements that we have, but
Right.
they're closer.
yeah. And I think the point was that this is a good start, special ed. I mean, it's not gonna affect us, but statewide education, you know, the big E education, this is a good start, but it's not
Yeah, it's
everything
not
that needs to
nearly
be done.
enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, so hopefully he takes up the charge again
Yep.
for next year.
He's
Yes,
relentless.
He sounds like it.
Another wrong end of that.
Yeah, well. All right. Well, thank you, I appreciate that too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, do we have any public comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So this is for the administrators. Can we put to rest the myth that there had been money put away for the turf fields over the years? Like, do we even, I mean, again, historically, nobody in this room would remember that. It's a Sandy Castle question.
I remember.
So there was money, I found emails, and it was supported by audit reports that had a balance in the assigned fund balance
Specifically for turf fields.
for the turf fields, yeah.
So does that exist? Was that 170,000 you referred to earlier?
That was, yeah,
That's
that
what it was?
That's what it was in prior years.
Is that still there?
So
It is if we say so.
that's a good way of putting it, yeah. So the board is able to change, actually, if you wanted to, Thursday night, you could change the commitments and the assignments. So that can be done at any point just through board action. So it's easiest to do once the auditors are done, because then you have that 13.5 million right here. And then we can allocate all within that 13.5 million of what that money is. But now, you have to do the assigned fund balance, the amount that was used to balance the next year's budget. You can't touch the non-spendable and you can't touch the restricted, but you
Right.
can change those committed and assigned and unassigned fund balances.
And by asking that question, I'm not suggesting that we commit to replacing
Right.
the turf. I'm just saying that's a conversation that's been
Yeah.
going on within the community, certainly within the sports community.
As if there's this pocket of money that no one's using
Yeah.
and we're sitting on, and why are you waiting, just do it. type of thing.
Right, yeah, and so facilities tomorrow, I'm sure there'll be that dialogue, and it's not just turf, it's gym floor at the high school,
Yeah.
it's other athletic facilities, and so that, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we will certainly have that conversation about sort of bringing that money back into the fund balance.
Okay.
But,
After the audit, I'd say.
yeah.
Peg, I'll also have copies of the latest GMAX report from this past summer for people. I heard the same thing, people are, or want to come talk about the turf
Yeah.
and just have that information that's available if needed in terms of what the latest report was. Because I think I mentioned that when there was a bed sheet hung up about shame on whatever, all of a sudden it turned into, it was about the turf. And the turf was in okay shape, it's not.
Right.
Yeah, but, and this will be tomorrow's
Yeah.
conversation, that, we need to really have a strategic plan for athletic facilities and
Yep.
facilities in general, so.
Yep. Agreed, I'm frustrated that we don't already have a plan or have
Yeah.
something that can.
And I shared with you and Melanie plans I did at
Yeah, no,
others.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of your goals too,
Mhm.
like
Yep.
specifically the
Yep.
athletics and their needs.
You read what my goals are.
I have them memorized
All right.
at this point.
Oh, God. Okay. All right, any committee
I'm
member
reading what you
comments?
said.
That's good.
Yes,
It was a big one this week.
Comments?
yes, I read it.
That's pages.
Yes, I read it. I don't have it memorized yet.
All right.
Comments? Any more?
I don't.
Okay.
Budget presentations next month.
Yay. Yay. Could I
Is
ask
the best,
for a-
I did the best presentations.
Yeah, they're great. I love them.
Everybody says.
I love them, actually.
Read it on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. They're great.
It's true, it's on Facebook.
Must have been true, yeah.
Yep. All right, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for all that lovely information. I shall be reporting out on her. All right.